Okay, so we're looking at simultaneous equations with different coefficients. So let's just write a little sentence first of all. Sometimes the coefficients on our simultaneous equations will be different. So we can't just add or subtract to cancel. If this is the case, we must make the coefficients the same first. Oops. Now remember, coefficient means the number in front of our letter. So sometimes the number in front of our letter aren't the same, so we can't just add or subtract them. So what we must do is we must multiply one of our equations, or both of our equations, to make the coefficients the same. So get that down. I'll give you a second to get that down. Put that in a nice box. Okay, so let's have a go at our first question here. Example 1. Let's have a go at this first question here. So this one down here is example 1. Now we've got to notice that with this one here, the P's are the same and the Q's are the same. Okay, so usually we have either a P or a Q the same. So what we've got to think about is which ones of these can I multiply? Which ones of these can I multiply to make them the same? Okay, which one of these can I multiply to make them the same? Now, this one here is example 1. So out of 1 and 2, how can I multiply this to make either P or Q the same? Well, I think here, looking at this, the easiest thing to do is to multiply equation 2 by 2, because then the P's will be the same. So let's write that down. So multiply equation 2 by 2, multiply by 2 to make P the same. Okay, so I'm multiplying equation 2 by 2 to make P the same. So I'm keeping one the same. I'm keeping that top one the same up here. So this is staying the same. So let's just write that one out. So it's going to be 2P plus 3Q is equal to 16. And then I'm timesing this bottom one here all by 2. So if I times that by 2, I get, well, P times by 2 is 2p. That's the point. Now they're the same. The 2q times by 2 is 4q. And the 10 times by 2 is 20. So I'm timesing this one here by 2. So this is now back to the equations which I'm used to. And the question you've got to ask yourself is, what is the symbol on the letter which is the same? Sorry, what is the symbol on the coefficients which is the same? So the coefficients which are the same are p, here, this 2p. And they're both positive 2p. So because they're positive, it means, because they're both positive, because they're the same symbol, it means I need to subtract my equations. And that makes sense because 2p take away 2p is nothing. So let's do this now then. 2p take away 2p is nothing, that's the whole point. 3q take away 4q is actually minus q. So we're taking away, in fact let's say it, let's write this down. We subtract because the symbol on p is the same. So we've subtracted 2p take away 2p is equal to nothing, 3q take away 4q is equal to minus q, and 16 take away 20 is equal to minus 4. Now we've got a bit of a problem here because we're saying that minus q is equal to minus 4. So actually what I need to divide by here, this means minus 1. So I'm dividing both sides by negative 1. And if I divide minus q by negative 1, I just end up with positive q. And minus 4 divided by minus 1, and minus divided by a minus is a positive, so that's going to be equal to positive 4q. Now I've not finished there, have I? Because remember, I need to substitute that back into my original equations to find out what p is. Now the best one I think to sub into is equation 2 because I've got a single p here. So let's write that down. So we're going to sub q equals 4 into equation 2 to find p. So equation 2 was this. We're basically putting this back into here. Okay? To find out what p is. So it's going to be, equation 2 is p plus 2q is equal to 10. So then if I sub in q is equal to 4 into this, I end up with p plus 2 times 4 is equal to 10. Then I simplify this, p plus 8 is equal to 10. And the last little part, I minus 8, so p is equal to 2. There's lots going on there, it's really hard that. So these are my two answers. Q is equal to 4 and P is equal to 2. Now it's very similar to the questions we've just been doing, but the difference is we need to times one of our equations to make either P or Q the same. That's the difference, okay? It's very similar apart from that. I'll give you a second just to get that down. So let's have a look at this next one then. So get this one down. I know it says your turn. I'm going to do this one though. So this one here is example 2. Okay, so the first question you've got to ask yourself is which, so let's label our equations, get them down. So equation 1, and equation 2. The first question you've got to ask yourself is, which one am I going to multiply to make either x or y the same? So looking at this, well, 2 doesn't go into 5 and 5 doesn't go into 2, so I can't multiply those. But I can multiply the bottom one, because if I multiply the bottom one by 2, then I'm going to get the y's the same, aren't I? Okay? So if I multiply the bottom one by 2, I'm going to get the y's the same. So I'm going to keep this top one the same. This isn't changing. So I'm just going to write that one down first. So 2x plus 2y is equal to 12. But I am going to times the bottom one by 2. And that's going to be equal to, well, 5x times by 2 is 10x. Negative y times by 2 is negative 2y. And 0 times by 2 is just 0. So the next question is, now this is where we link back to what we did last lesson. Are the symbols on the coefficients which are the same, are the symbols on the numbers which are equal the same, or are they different? Well, looking at this y here, the symbols on the 2y are different, aren't they? It's plus 2y and minus 2y. So because the symbols are different, it means that I add these equations together. So symbols are different, so I add the equations. So then I'm going to do 2x plus 10x, which is equal to 12x. 2y plus minus 2y is nothing, that's the point. And 12 plus 0 is just 12. Still not finished, I need to get x on its own, so I do that by dividing by 12 and dividing by 12, so I end up with x is equal to 1. So there's our first one. So the next thing I need to do is I need to sub in 1 to either equation 1 or 2 to find out what y is. So I'm going to write here, I'm going to sub x equals 1 into equation 1 to find y. So equation 1 is this, 2x plus 2y is equal to 12. And x is equal to 1 is what I'm putting in. Putting this in for here. So I end up with, now I'm going to do this in a different colour, just so we know. So I end up with 2 times 2, because x is, 2 times 2, x is 1. 2 times 1 plus 2y is equal to 12. I'll now simplify this, so this is going to be 2 plus 2y is equal to 12. Then I need to do minus 2, 2y is equal to 10. And divide by 2, y is equal to 5. So there's our 2. Let's make sure this fits on here. So there's our 2 answers. X is equal to 1 and y is equal to 5. There we go. To get that one down, I'll give you a second. So, let's have a look now at, so there's our two questions. Let's have a look at one more. I'll do one more, and then I'll let you have a go at some yourself. So, example 3. I'll do one more. Example 3. So, solve the following simultaneous equations. Now, the problem that we've got here is that both, I can't times anything by p to get 2 times, there's nothing times by 2 to get 5, and there's nothing by times by 2 to get 5, or 5 times 2. So actually I've got to time both of these equations to make either p or q the same. Okay, so let's label them first. Now I'm going to make, so this one here is 1, this one here is 2. I'm going to make q the same. So the question you've got to ask yourself is, what's the lowest common multiple of 5 and 2? What do 5 and 2 both go into? Well, they both go into, the lowest common multiple is 10, isn't it? So I need to times this top one here by 2. And I need to times this bottom one here by 5. So 5 and 2 both go into 10. So make q, well, the coefficient of q, 10. Okay, that's your little hint there. We're making q 10 because then we can cancel them. Remember, we want either p or q to be the same. So if I times the top by 2, I end up with 2p times by 2 is 4p. Minus 5 times by q is equal to minus 10q. And 13 times by 2 is equal to 26. If I times the bottom by 5, I end up with 25p minus 10q, they're now the same, that's the point, is equal to 5. Now this one here is definitely trickier, and you'll see why in a second, okay? So are the symbols on my q, which is this, where 10 is the same, are they the same or are they different? Well, the symbols on my on q are the same, which means I need to subtract. And you'll see why this is tricky now, because I've got to do 4p minus 25p, which is minus 21. 4 take away 25 is minus 21p. Minus 10 minus 10 is equal to minus 10 plus 10, which is 0. That's the point. And 26 take away 5 is equal to 21. So then I need to divide by negative 21, divide by negative 21. So p divided by negative 21p divided by negative 21 is just p. 21 divided by 21 is 1, but 21 divided by minus 21 is equal to minus 1, like so. Now this is why it's harder, because it's a negative, isn't it? So now I need to, exactly the same, sub p equals minus 1 into equation 1. So equation 1 is 2p minus 5q is equal to 13. So if I sub that in, I'll do it in a different colour just so you can see it's the new part. It's going to be 2 times by p, which is minus 1, minus 5q equals 13. So 2 times minus 1 is minus 2 minus 5q is equal to 13. So then I need to add 2, minus 5q is equal to 15. Last little part. Is I need to divide by the minus 5. So divide by minus 5, divide by minus 5. So Q, 15 divided by minus 5 is equal to minus 3. And there's your answer. Hard that because it's a negative. Probably should have done a negative one here, really, but it doesn't matter. It's the same process. Okay. Minus 1, minus 3.